Hi, I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. On last week's show, the theme was upsets. There were 6 of them to show you. And this week, we have 5 more upsets to show you and several other games which were nearly upsets, too.
Well, Pat, the balance in pro football becomes more amazing every year. After about 1/4 of the season, there's only one team which has looked strong for 4 straight weeks. That team, of course, would be Don Shula's amazingly solid Miami Dolphins.
And on the other end of the scale, who would have figured Minnesota and Baltimore to be 1-3 at this stage of the season?
Oh, I think we picked it that way, didn't we?
I think so.
I guess maybe we didn't. In fact, we're both 4-5 on our picks, but at the end of this show, we're going to start our big comeback.
Also at the end of the show, we'll have this week's selection of the best of the week.
And that selection seems to get tougher every week, too. See if you can pick this week's winner as you watch all of the action with us.
No one expected the St. Louis Cardinals to win in Minnesota last week, but it seems that this year the Purple People Eaters are the ones being eaten.
Last Sunday, the St. Louis Cardinals entered the lair of the grape-clad People Crushers. Card coach Bob Holloway must have expected the very worst, as even he warmed up the old firing pin. And of course, the Vikings did their thing, which is crash, crunch, crackle, and pop. Number 26, Clint Jones, scored once for the Vikings in answer to 2 St. Louis field goals. Larry Wilson's runout was discounted as Jones had scored before the fumble. Cardinal quarterback Gary Cuozzo, an ex-Viking, was not intimidated as he hit Bobby Moore to regain the lead. The Vikings took it back on a Fran Tarkington to Gene Washington pass. Late in the 4th quarter, Gary Cuozzo hit Moore again and seemingly iced the game at 19-17. But with less than a minute remaining, the Purple Gang drove furiously to the St. Louis 19. Where, with 4 seconds left, Fred Cox tried the winning field goal. But the winning field goal was a loser as it hit the right upright, which in this case was the wrong upright. And last Sunday night, the Minnesota cocktail flags flew for a long time as the Vikings lost their 3rd of 4 starts, 19-17.
The Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers went at it again for the 107th time.
And Pat, just for the record, the series now stands at 55 wins for Chicago, 46 for Green Bay, and 6 ties.
Up in Green Bay, the Packers quarterback coach Bart Starr remarked, "The Chicago Bears may be winless, but up here they'll play like champions. They're a funny team." Funny, snorted Chicago's new head coach Abe Gibran. The Bears are about as funny as a punch in the face on a cold day. And it was on that note that the Bears and the Packers resumed the oldest rivalry in pro football. From the beginning, it was apparent that Chicago's cute blonde quarterback Bobby Douglas was going to have trouble making advances against a very mean green defense. Number 83, Clarence Williams, put it on the Bears' Jim Harrison, and the defense took control early. Defense registered the Packers' first score. When Jim Harrison fumbled, Clarence Williams recovered and outraced Bobby Douglas 21 yards for the touchdown. Scott Hunter brought the Packers right back, hitting tight end Lynn Garrett in his 2nd year out of New Mexico Highlands for an apparent 55-yard touchdown. But Malcolm Snyder was detected holding and the play was nullified. On the next series, in slow motion, Hunter lofted a pass for Dave Davis. Joe Taylor deflected the ball, and John Staggers made a hustling, diving catch and carry into the end zone, building a 17-3 halftime lead for Green Bay. But Bobby Douglas sent Cyril Pinder 2 yards to cap a 10-play drive in the third period, making it 17-10. And Douglas kept the Bears rolling in the second half, hitting number 43, George Farmer, for a 46-yard gain. From there, Douglas scrambled around left end for 2 yards and the tying touchdown. But the resurgence of Packer power is for real, and with 34 seconds remaining, Chester Marcole once again made his presence felt, booting through a 37-yarder, dividing the pack from the late rallying Bears 20-17.
Paul Brown's Cincinnati Bengals have been in first place since opening day. But remarkably enough, until last week, they hadn't scored a touchdown since opening day.
The Cincinnati Bengals are leading their division in victories. They are leading their conference in total defense. And they are leading the NFL in total mascots, with 12 dogs and 1 genuine Bengal tiger. But the Bengals have had trouble scoring points, and in last week's game, Denver ran up an early 10-0 lead, with Floyd Little, number 44, doing the honors. After the 10 early points, the Bengals' tough young defense took over, and Denver's offense was closed down for the rest of the day. On the next 2 plays, watch the moves of left defensive tackle Mike Reed, number 74. Mike Reed, the ideal cornerstone around which to build a great defense. Since the offense wasn't scoring, it was up to the special teams to get things going in the right direction. Tom Casanova, number 37, the rookie from LSU, did just that. The 37-yard return put the offense in position. And number 19, Essex Johnson, carried the Bengals toward their first touchdown in 2.5 games. For the next Cincinnati touchdown, Tom Casanova made sure no help was needed from the offensive team. Casanova's 66-yard burn was the game breaker, although the offense did supply some insurance points when quarterback Ken Anderson found wide receiver Chip Myers for a fourth-quarter touchdown. The Cincinnati Bengals may not be the highest scoring team in the league, but somewhat surprisingly, they are the only team in first place in the AFC Central.
Two weeks ago, the Los Angeles Rams took a mighty beating at the hands of the Atlanta Falcons.
But last week, they did an about-face that left them alone at the top of the very tough NFC's Western Division.
This harried commuter type is not running for the 8-12. But what Los Angeles coach Tommy Prothro is hurrying to see is a healthy Roman Gabriel. Recently, Gabe's arm problems have caused the Rams to appear as an up-and-down ball club. And last Sunday, with arch-rival San Francisco in town, the Rams needed a cannon arm. What Ram fans got at first was more of a mortar shot as wide receiver Lance Rensel hit wide receiver Jack Snow. And then Roman answered all medical questions as he too hit Jack Snow, who galloped in for the first score of the game. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, quarterback John Brody couldn't find anyone to take a handoff, so he was thrown for a loss. His troubles were compounded when he couldn't find anyone willing to catch a pass either. And it looked like the 49ers were in for their 9th failure in 10 tries against the Rams. But then Johnny Lightning decided to take care of things himself. Brody's score tied the game at 7, but that was the last the 49ers would see of the Rams all day. Number 33, Willie Ellison, jolted the Ram running game to life as he punched into the belly of the 49er defense. And Roman Gabriel fired passes with laser beam precision to number 13, Lance Rensel. Lance thought he deserved a touchdown for his troubles. No matter, though, because the Rams got it on the very next play. Soon after, number 35, Bob Thomas, began churning out some of his 142 rushing yards that led to another Los Angeles score. The not-to-be-forgotten Ram defense played its part as number 42, Dave Elmendorf, stole John Brody's wobbler. Capitalizing on Elmendorf's theft, Roman Gabriel again threaded the needle to Jack Snow, who raced 57 yards to the end zone. Number 38, Larry Smith, put the faltering 49ers out of their misery as he loped 68 yards on this play and then later took it in to make the final score Rams 31, 49ers 7. But it really wasn't that close. And now that the Rams are all alone at the top of their division, it's their turn to look over their shoulders to see who's going to make the next run at them.
Last week, the Philadelphia Eagles kept their record unblemished as they went down to defeat number 4. But every week, they get a little tougher to beat.
Last week, the winless Philadelphia Eagles traveled to Washington, hungry to make Sonny Jurgensen's starting debut his downfall. But Washington fans were unperturbed, even though Sonny's downfall did look imminent. Eagles' Bill Bradley, number 28, had 2 end-zone interceptions and now has 5 thefts for the year. But when the Eagles got in close, the Redskins managed to stop them as the first half became a scoreless stalemate. In the third period, Sonny loosened up and hit one of the real good ones, 42, Charlie Taylor, who's a very hard man to bring down. Then it was number 43, Larry Brown, for the first Redskins score, which was all they really needed. But Sonny brought some insurance with a bullet to number 80, Roy Jefferson, as the Redskins went on to shut out the Eagles 14-0. The Redskins also grabbed a share of the lead in the NFC East. No wonder the Washington fans love the Redskins almost as much as they love each other. For in Washington, love comes in many ways.
Even with Sonny Jurgensen, the Redskins did not look very impressive, Tom.
And in Dallas, the Redskins' chief rivals, the Cowboys, muddled through again. Without Staubach, their multiple offense looked singularly ordinary to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Without Roger Staubach, the Cowboys' offense has become a riderless horse. On Sunday, his team met the Steelers, led by Terry Bradshaw, whose fascination with collisions has given his face that rugged look. Against Dallas, Bradshaw faced a head-hunting defense. The Doomsday defense brutalized the Steelers in the first quarter. But whenever they seemed to have Pittsburgh in their fatal grasp, they let go too soon. On offense, the Cowboys displayed a case of dropsy that has lasted through 4 games. Quarterback Craig Morton was often backed by superb protection, but often his passes wobbled woefully off target. Finally, Cowboy mistakes provided Pittsburgh with a score when Bob Hayes' fumble was speared in midair by Mel Blount, who raced to a touchdown. With the Steelers leading 13-3, Dallas rallied with 2 touchdowns, one on a Calvin Hill dive, and led 17-13 late in the last quarter. With time waning, very strange things began to happen. Within fingertips of a touchdown, Frank Lewis dropped Bradshaw's perfect pass, and Steeler hopes seemed lost. But with 1:45 left, Bradshaw received a second chance, and even weirder things occurred. First, Bradshaw was blindsided, but Franco Harris recovered his fumble and sped to the Cowboy 3. Unfortunately for Pittsburgh, a holding penalty nullified the play and opened the way for more strange happenings. Just 3 plays later, on 4th down, Bradshaw's desperation pass was intercepted by Cornell Green. This time, a Dallas penalty canceled Green's trip to a touchdown. Bradshaw then drove Pittsburgh to the Dallas 33, and with just seconds remaining, he threw a prayer that Frank Lewis caught just out of bounds. In one of the strangest games ever played, the Dallas Cowboys lucked out a 17-13 victory over the snake-bitten Steelers.
Well, Tom, it seems that the New England Patriots finally ran out of 4-leaf clovers last week up in Buffalo.
And if you had seen their opening kickoff, you never would have picked the Bills.
As usual, the Bills were raring to go. But as usual, they were left in the starting blocks as the Jim Plunkett-led Patriots bolted right past them. Led by the running of setbacks Carl Garrett, number 30, and Josh Ashton, number 31, New England scored first, and it looked like this week they wouldn't need a leprechaun for victory number 3. Buffalo seemed doomed by bad bounces and bad hands until they stumbled into some good fortune. Then their rookie-studded defense hunted the Patriots from sideline to sideline. New England setbacks bounced and caromed off the Bills like pinballs. Finally, Buffalo's frantic chase for a loose football ended when linebacker Ken Lee intercepted a Plunkett pass and blazed 60 yards. O.J. Simpson was called on to use his arm, not his legs, but his balloon was on target. Then quarterback Dennis Shaw caught the AFC's leading receiver, J.D. Hill, dead in stride for a touchdown. Whenever Jim Plunkett needed an outlet receiver, he could always rely on the Bills' Ken Lee, who intercepted his second pass. The Bills erupted for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, and this effortless 11-yarder by O.J. Simpson made the score 31-7 at the half. Buffalo scored once more on a pretty 43-yard catch and run by rapidly improving Bob Chandler, number 81. Even at game's end, Plunkett dared Bills linebackers, and Dave Washington, number 86, made a picture interception. When number 41, Alvin Wyatt, tried his hand at blocking, he ended up a punching bag. But on this Sunday, it was the Bills by a knockout, 38-14.
Well, Pat, the AFC East figured to be a close race this season.
That's right, Tom, and there's a tremendous scramble going on for second place.
Sundays in New York can be a pleasant time, especially if you're among the Shea Stadium faithful who come to see another exciting chapter in the saga of the man with the eggshell knees. The man, of course, is Joe Namath. As he goes, so go the Jets. Facing the man last week was the machine, an awesome powerhouse built by head coach Don Shula. From a joke to challenger to the team to beat in just 3 years, Shula built his machine in a series of interchangeable parts. These parts have meshed to make Miami the only undefeated team in the NFL this season. The man went after the machine early by picking away at the underneath coverage in the Miami zone. Namath controlled Miami with a carefully measured 13-play drive, which culminated in a 1-yard touchdown to give the Jets an early 7-0 lead. But the machine and its component parts purr with efficiency. Once in a while, graceful Paul Warfield, number 42, is not absolutely perfect. But the Dolphins do not depend on only one man. Shula can pluck a spare part like Howard Twilley from the bench and never miss a beat. Twilley's touchdown catch put Miami on the board, but it's the heavy-duty flywheels at the heart of that machine that really makes it unstoppable. Iron Man Larry Zonka ripped through the Jets for 102 yards. And twin piston Jimmy Kick blasted in for 2 touchdowns to give Miami a commanding lead. But you know, you can never count the man out. Jerome Barkham was ruled down on the 6-inch line where it was 1st and goal. There was a time when a touchdown from inches was a foregone conclusion against the Dolphin defense, but this series demonstrated how far Shula has brought his team. They rose up to stop New York 3 straight times. Namath even gave it a crack, but the Jets had to settle for a field goal. New York was still in the ballpark with Miami ahead 27-17, but the potential Namath fourth quarter rally never came off. In the end, it was machine over man. As Joe Namath goes, so go the Jets. Namath went down this time, but he will be back to try it again in Miami next month. Today, Don Shula's component parts were too much as Miami remained undefeated and moved 2 full games ahead in the AFC East. Weeb Eubank and the rest of the coaches in the division can only hold on and hope now for a breakdown.
Sounds of strength are now emanating from New York City, where the Giants have opened some people's eyes and are starting to take on the look of a contender.
In Yankee Stadium, the surprisingly strong New York Giants battle the New Orleans Saints. The Giants have become a young team in recent years, but no team is younger than the Saints, whose roster includes 25 members with less than 3 years pro experience. The Saints are building for the future, and if it's true that a team learns from its mistakes, then New Orleans got quite a lecture on this day. The Saints fumbled 4 times and lost 4 interceptions, as mistakes led to 4 of 6 Giant touchdowns. On the Saints' first possession, a bad snap on 4th and punt gave the Giants field position on the New Orleans 13. Norman Snead, number 16, led the NFC in passing going into the game, and he began a day that would help his position by hitting Charlie Evans, number 31, swinging out of the backfield. On the Saints' second possession, an interception on their own 37 led to a field goal. And on their third series, Saint head coach J.D. Roberts saw his young team give the ball away again. A fumble gave New York possession on the Saints' 24. On the very next play, Evans went around right in and the Giants led 17-0. In the second quarter, Saint mistakes continued unabated as a pass to Dave Parks, number 83, went through his mitts, and Richmond Flowers, number 44, came up smelling like roses. This turnover led to Evans' third score of the first half, this time on an 8-yard run. Only once did the Giants drive for a score in the first half. 35 yards of an 80-yard drive were gained on a Snead pass to Don Herman, number 85. Herman's catch and carry led to a short Ron Johnson TD run and a 31-0 Giant lead. In the second half, after still another Saint turnover, Herman got a touchdown of his own. But the turnover tournament was not over. On the Saints' first possession of the second half, an Archie Manning pass was swiped by number 41, Willie Williams. But Williams' ad-lib wound up right where the play had begun, back in Manning's glad hands. But the play had given the Saints poor field position, and after a punt, Snead threw his third touchdown pass of the day, a 15-yarder to Bob Grimm, number 27. At one point, the Giant lead had ballooned to 45-7. The Saints' 7 had come with 17 seconds left in the first half when Manning scrambled long enough to spot Parks for a 66-yard score. The Saints were never really a threat in the game, but they gained some measure of respect with two fourth-quarter scores. Danny Abramowitz, number 46, gained 40 yards before being helped down by teammate Joe Williams, number 24. Abramowitz's run set up a second Manning to Parks touchdown pass, and Abramowitz scored one himself on a deflection from 16 yards out. The Saints had scored last, but it was the Giants who had the last laugh with a 45-21 victory. And the Giants at 2-2 are only one game out of first in their division.
After looking terrible, great, and fair in their first three games, the San Diego Chargers traveled to Baltimore last week in search of a true identity.
In the NFL, there are many deep and bitter rivalries, but in Baltimore last week, the Colts were downright hostile toward the visiting Chargers. First, the Colts ganged up on number 37, Sid Edwards. Next, number 76, Fred Miller took Edwards' shoe off. Then number 21, Rich Volk threw it away. About this time, Sid was probably wondering if the Colts were trying to tell him something. But Baltimore was not about to be pleasant to anyone wearing yellow pants, including ex-Colt John Mackey, number 89. Homecoming was not pleasant for the old Baltimore superstar as his ex-teammates stripped him clean. Actually, Baltimore is not usually this inhospitable, but the Colts were frustrated by their worst start in a decade, and the Chargers happened to be around to pay for it. The aroused ponies pilfered 3 San Diego passes and snatched away 2 fumbles to provide John Unitas with plenty of field position. Number 19 turned to the human bowling ball. Bouncy Don Nottingham, number 48, rolled wild for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. While Nottingham, Unitas, and San Diego errors put 20 Colt points on the board, San Diego stayed close with a darting burst of its own stumpy little runner Mike Garrett, number 20. Garrett scrambled and scraped for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns to bring the Chargers within 3 at 20-17 in the fourth quarter. Then the Colts did something they never used to do. They gave the game away. The normally poised Colts collapsed and fumbled twice in the final 4 minutes. Each time, Dennis Partee converted the gift into a Charger field goal. The last coming with 7 seconds left in the game to give San Diego a 23-20 upset victory. The Chargers had won a road game for the first time in their last 13 tries, but the gift victory left them still in search of a true identity. This week in Miami, they should find out how good they really are.
Let's see, Tom. The Chargers and Raiders are tied for second now, just a half game behind the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West.
Pat, and to stay in first place, the Chiefs traveled to their third straight resort city. First it was New Orleans, then Denver, and last week Cleveland.
Along the scenic shores of Lake Erie, the wind, sun, and seas were perfect for sailing. And Cleveland fans were expecting another day of smooth sailing from Mike Phipps and the Browns' offense. But one touchdown to fair hooker was all Phipps and the Browns could muster against the Kansas City defense. For Cleveland, the rest of the game meant turnover time as the Browns lost possession on 8 separate occasions. The principal victim of the epidemic was Bo Scott's replacement at running back Ken Brown, who fumbled 4 times in the first half. Number 20, free safety Mike Sensabaugh recovered 2 fumbles and intercepted his 3rd and 4th passes of the season. In all, Phipps threw 4 interceptions. Number 40, Jim Marsalis set up 1 Kansas City touchdown with an interception. But the biggest noise of the day was made by the running backs, who accounted for well over 200 yards rushing. Number 38, Wendell Hayes, returned from an injury to gain 86 yards. And 5'9" mini Mike Adamley scooted for 88. As in their previous game, the Kansas City air arm belonged to number 10, quarterback Mike Livingston, who again passed to clutch receivers like Dennis Holman, number 21. Livingston again threw for 3 touchdowns, one of them to tight end Willie Frazier, number 83. And among all the unfamiliar Chief names, there is one familiar name that almost always stands out: Otis Taylor, number 89. The Chiefs won 31-7, and after 11 games with Mike Livingston at quarterback, the Chiefs had won all 11 and were still alone atop the AFC West.
Every year, the Atlanta Falcons threaten to become winners, but it seems they only get harder to beat.
Things are supposed to be looking up in Atlanta. Head coach Norm Van Brocklin feels nothing but hard-nosed, proud football teams. But some think Van Brocklin builds in a tragic flaw, that his teams are tough, but they are not winners. But after a winning season in 1971, Van Brocklin appears ready to prove that his teams are not built to fail safe. This week, the foe was the Detroit Lions, a team the Falcons had never beaten. In the second quarter, with Detroit leading 6-3, Greg Landry went deep looking for Larry Walton. Number 27, Tom Hayes, made this spectacular interception, causing the Lions' second turnover of the period, but the Falcons could not advance. On their next series, the Lions' Alty Taylor got outside for runs of 43 and 32 yards, setting up an 8-yard touchdown run by Steve Owens. In the third period, Art Malone bolted 10 yards after an 8-play drive to make it Detroit 13, Atlanta 10. On the next play after the kickoff, Greg Landry reached 42 yards to Ron Jesse on an 82-yard touchdown play, and the third period ended 20-10, favoring Detroit. But the Falcons drove back using Bob Berry's short passing game. This one to Jim Mitchell, good for 17 yards. Berry completed the drive, hitting Art Malone for a 2-yard score. Big defensive plays like this Clarence Ellis interception paid off for the Falcons as Bill Bell added 2 field goals, blasting Atlanta into the lead 23-20. Then a game-breaking interference call against rookie Clarence Ellis came with 47 seconds remaining as Landry aimed long for Ron Jesse. The interference made it 1st and goal on the 3, and Steve Owens plowed over. The extra point was blocked, but the 6-point gift was enough, and the final margin was Detroit 26, Atlanta 23, leaving Detroit tied for a share of the black and blue honors with the Green Bay Packers.
The Lions and the Falcons, 2 pretty good-looking football teams, but Pat, what about the best of the week?
Tom, there was one team and one player who I think stood out above all, and that would be the team and player who were so soundly trounced the previous week by the Atlanta Falcons, but who last week soundly trounced the favored and very strong San Francisco 49ers.
So our Best of the Week award goes this week to the Los Angeles Rams, and in particular, quarterback Roman Gabriel.
As you know, Tom, he's been taking acupuncture treatments. He still can't throw the football like he did in years past, but he threw it well enough to win last week against San Francisco, and he also called one of the best games I think I've ever seen him work.
And don't you think it's great when a guy is over 30 and makes a great comeback with a bad bone that way?
Well, it takes a lot of courage, and he has certainly exhibited that over the past couple of weeks.
Big and strong, and the Rams go as Roman Gabriel goes, don't they?
So our salute this week goes to Roman Gabriel and those Los Angeles Rams.
How about this week now? Let's go to the picks. New York at San Francisco.
The Giants seem to be putting a very potent offense together. They've been playing a good enough defense to contain the other teams that they've been playing in the last couple of weeks, particularly. In spite of the fact that they've got to make that long trip west, I'm going to pick the Giants.
It sounds like you're going to pick New York. I'm going to go with San Francisco because they're playing at home, and they're going to be tough.
They will be, rebounding after last week's loss to Los Angeles.
All right, how about Cincinnati in Kansas City?
Mike Livingston has done some job for the Chiefs because this game is in Kansas City, and because the Chiefs finally seem to be rolling, I'm going to pick them.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs on defense, too. Green Bay at Detroit, and I'm going to go out on a limb and pick the young Packers, who are tough.
All right, they've been playing good defense, but I think Detroit's going to show them new elements of offense this week, so I'll have the Lions. At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens. I'm Pat Summerall.
I'm Tom Brookshire. We'll see you next week.